Space was quiet. Too quiet. Beyond the glittering stars, the Galactic Empire's flagship, Vigilant Dawn, floated in orbit around the capital world of Sereth Prime. Inside the great vessel, everything seemed calm until the silence broke. At the heart of the ship, in the command deck lined with glowing blue consoles, a young signal officer frowned. He tapped his screen once, then again. "Admiral," he said softly, his voice uncertain, "there's something out there." The Admiral, Sirax Varian, turned his sharp eyes toward the screen. "Define something, Lieutenant." "I don't know, sir." The scanners picked up a distortion, about 4 million kilometers out. No heat, no radiation, no ID signal. Sirax leaned closer. The space beyond was empty, a black void dotted with stars. "Could be debris," he muttered. The officer shook his head. "No, sir. It's moving fast." A low hum filled the room as the long-range display lit up. A faint outline appeared on the edge of the grid, a single object, drifting silently toward them. "What class of ship is that?" Sirax demanded. "Unknown," replied the AI interface. "No records match. No known propulsion signature. Object approaching on direct trajectory to Sereth Prime." The bridge crew fell quiet. The object was big, too big. Its shadow stretched across half the sensor grid, but somehow it gave off no reflection, no sound, no life signs. "Try hailing them," Sirax ordered. "Standard protocol." A moment later, the comm officer spoke, voice trembling. "No response, sir. The transmission isn't bouncing back. It's like it's being absorbed." Sirax straightened his uniform. "Power up the forward scanners. I want a full visual." The lights dimmed and the main viewing screen flickered to life. At first, there was nothing, only endless dark. Then slowly a shape began to emerge. It wasn't sleek or polished like Imperial warships. It was massive, rough-edged, and ancient-looking. Metallic plates covered in burn scars, like it had survived 1,000 battles. Yet it moved perfectly straight, no engines visible, no trails of energy. Just motion through emptiness. Someone whispered, "Is that even possible?" The Admiral said nothing. His eyes narrowed. "Focus the image." The camera zoomed in. Across the ship's hull, faint letters shimmered under the light of distant stars, but the characters weren't Imperial standard. They looked human. The signal officer swallowed hard. "Sir, I think we should alert Central Command." "It's already done," Sirax replied quietly. He didn't take his eyes off the screen. Every instinct told him this wasn't a natural phenomenon. It wasn't pirates, rebels, or traitors. This was something old. Something that shouldn't exist anymore. "Estimate distance," he said. 3 million kilometers and closing. Speed increasing faster than before. How fast? "Too fast, sir. It's moving against inertia models. It shouldn't even be possible." The bridge lights flickered. One by one, the consoles began to show errors. Signal lost. Data incomplete. Unknown source detected. Sirax's voice hardened. "Report. Systems are being jammed, Admiral." But what? There's no energy signature. The ship isn't transmitting anything. It's like space itself is blocking us. The room fell into a tense silence. Outside the windows, Sereth Prime's moon drifted by like a silent witness. "Visual contact in 1 minute," the AI announced. Every crew member held their breath. When the object came into full view, even Sirax felt his chest tighten. The ship wasn't built like any known design. It looked handcrafted, almost organic. Its hull shimmered with faint golden light patterns like veins pulsing beneath its surface, and yet it made no sound. No vibration. No trace of power. Just presence. The AI's voice broke the silence again. "Warning. Object emits no readable data. Probability of artificial origin, 99.7%. Identification. Failed." Sirax turned to the comms officer. "Is it broadcasting anything?" The officer hesitated, then shook his head. "Nothing, sir. But I think It's listening." Those words hung in the air like poison. Suddenly, the main screen flashed white. Static burst through the speakers. Power surge. Someone yelled, "Shut down the visual." Sirax barked. Too late. The white noise cleared, replaced by a single glowing message across every monitor. "No. Data available." The bridge went dead silent again. Even the hum of the engine seemed to fade. Then the ship, the unknown vessel, stopped. Its motion ceased completely, as if frozen in time. It now hovered just outside planetary orbit, motionless. Facing the Imperial capital below, Sirax whispered, "What in the stars does it want?" No one answered. The ghost ship didn't move, didn't speak. Then a pulse of blue light flickered from its hull. A beam of data shot across the void and struck the Vigilant Dawn systems. Every display turned black. The lights died. The ship's engines cut off completely. The Empire's most advanced vessel had been shut down in a second. Panic erupted. Emergency power offline. "We're drifting. I can't get control back." Sirax slammed his hand on the control rail. "Calm down. Backup systems now." But the AI's voice returned, distorted and low, almost whispering. "External override detected. Source unknown." The Admiral's throat went dry. He stared at the frozen image of the ghost ship, silent, watching them. And then a faint signal appeared in the comms log, an ancient Terran frequency, one that hadn't been used in centuries. Sirax's eyes widened. "That's impossible." He played the signal. Static filled the bridge. Then a deep human voice spoke, calm and slow. "We warned you." The message ended. Silence returned. No one moved. No one spoke. The Empire, rulers of 1,000 worlds, sat frozen in fear. Watching the silent ship outside their window, Sirax finally exhaled. His voice came out barely above a whisper. "All ships, prepare for contact." The ghost ship remained motionless, hovering like a dark god above the Empire's shining world. And somewhere deep inside its hull, a light flickered a pulse, like a heartbeat growing stronger with every passing second. Outside, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. Inside the shining towers of Sereth Prime, the heart of the Galactic Empire pulsed with fear. The once invincible command halls of the Imperial High Council were now filled with noise, panic, and confusion. Reports came in from every corner of the system. Signals lost, fleets silent. Power fluctuations spreading like a wave from the same point. The unidentified ship. What began as a simple anomaly had turned into a crisis that even the Empire's oldest veterans had never seen before. The Great Command Chamber, usually calm and filled with the pride of order, now buzzed with shouts. Officers moved between glowing data panels, trying to restore lost connections. Screens flickered between static and strange alien symbols that no one could read. The Emperor's advisors argued among themselves, each voice louder than the next. "It's a rebel trick," shouted one general. "No rebel fleet has that kind of power," another answered. "It's the humans," a frightened officer whispered. The room froze at the word. At the center of it all, on a raised platform of dark steel, stood Emperor Kael'Varin, ruler of the Empire for 3 decades. His golden robes shimmered under the pale light, but his face was cold and hard. He looked up at the massive holographic display showing the ghost ship still hovering motionless above the planet. Its dark hull reflected no light, its presence silent but suffocating. "Someone explained to me," Kael said quietly, "why my fleets are blind." Admiral Sirax Varian, who had been brought from the Vigilant Dawn by emergency teleport, stood at attention. His uniform was scorched from power surges. His face was pale but steady. "Your Majesty," he began, "the object, the ship, appears to be emitting no signal, no power. Yet it moves as if alive. Our scanners cannot penetrate its hull. It shut down my ship completely in a single second." The Emperor frowned. "A single ship disabled the flagship of the Imperial fleet?" "Yes, Majesty. And it's not only us. Nearby defense grids and orbital stations have all gone dark. The ghost ship is controlling the entire sector. Gasps filled the chamber. The Emperor's chief scientist, an old man named Dr. Ellen Roz, stepped forward. His voice trembled slightly as he spoke. Majesty, I have reviewed the raw sensor data. The energy pattern does not match any known technology. It's older, much older. The readings resemble something from the pre-Empire era. Sirax looked up sharply. You mean before the founding of the Galactic Empire? The scientist nodded. Before the Empire, possibly before recorded galactic history. Murmurs rippled through the room. Everyone knew the stories, legends of the first ones. The ancient humans who had once spread across the stars before disappearing mysteriously. But those were myths, bedtime tales for soldiers. The Empire had long claimed to have evolved from them, to have improved upon their primitive beginnings. And yet, the markings on the ghost ship's hull were clear. Human letters. Old Earth script? Impossible, said one advisor. Humanity vanished millennia ago. Their homeworld is dust. Then explain that, Sirax replied, pointing at the frozen image of the ship. Because that thing out there carries their language, and it just shut down half our fleet without firing a shot. The Emperor stood silent for a long moment. The room seemed to hold its breath. Then Kale spoke, his tone measured and cold. Send word to every sector. Double all patrols. I want a perimeter around that ship. Nothing gets in or out. The order spread quickly through the command network, but even as the messages left the room, the lights flickered again. The central communication pillar dimmed. Lines of code scrolled across the air, not Imperial language, but something else. Strange glyphs, unreadable. Majesty? Cried an officer. The ship, it's accessing our systems again. The holographic projection of the ghost ship began to shift, as if the image itself were alive. A deep vibration ran through the floor. The Emperor turned sharply to Sirax. Shut it down.
Adding, sir,
shouted the technicians. But it's overriding everything, even offline systems. Then suddenly, all the noise stopped. The lights steadied. The hologram vanished. In its place appeared a single symbol, a circle of stars surrounding an old blue planet. Earth, Dr. Roz whispered. That's the seal of the first human federation. The Emperor's eyes darkened. So it's true, he said slowly. They've returned. A voice came from the communication console, faint at first, then clear. Empire Command, you have taken what was never yours. Turn what you stole, or face the judgment of your creators. The sound was unmistakably human, not synthesized, not alien, but raw and deep, filled with emotion. The transmission ended as suddenly as it had come. For a long moment, the chamber was silent. Then chaos erupted. What do they mean? Our creators? Are they declaring war? Should we attack first? The Emperor raised his hand. Silence fell again, his eyes fixed on the empty holographic platform. No, not yet. Sirax stepped forward. Your Majesty, if these are truly humans, we must proceed with caution. Their ship defies every known law of physics. A direct confrontation would be Kale cut him off. A sign of weakness, Admiral. The Empire does not bow to ghosts. But, sir, enough. The Emperor turned to his guards. Prepare the Titan fleet. I want them positioned above the capital. If that ship makes any move toward this planet, we will destroy it. The Admiral hesitated, then saluted. As you command. As Sirax left the chamber, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong. The ship hadn't fired. It hadn't attacked. It had only spoken once. And yet its single message had shaken the entire Empire to its core. Outside, the storm clouds over Sereth Prime began to gather. The capital's atmosphere was reacting to the strange gravitational field of the ghost ship. People across the planet looked up at the night sky, seeing a dark shape covering the stars like a black moon. Fear spread faster than light. Back inside the command chamber, Emperor stood alone before the vast window, watching the shadow of the ship above. His reflection looked small against the endless darkness. Dr. Roz approached carefully. Majesty, may I speak freely? Kale nodded once. I believe that ship isn't here to destroy us. Not yet. It's watching us, studying us, maybe even judging us." The Emperor didn't answer. His hands clenched behind his back. He said quietly, "Then let them watch. The Empire stands eternal." But deep down, even he knew, eternity might not last much longer. As the hours passed, the Revenant remained motionless in orbit, its silent presence sending waves of unease through every Imperial system. Fleets were mobilized, scientists called in, priests began to pray. But nothing could hide the truth that everyone felt in their hearts. Something ancient had awakened, something powerful, something that once called itself human. And as the Emperor turned away from the window, the ship pulsed once a dim, steady glow like a heartbeat, as if answering his unspoken thoughts. The Empire had built its glory on the ruins of the old world. Now, the old world had come back to collect what was owed. The hours passed, slowly aboard the Vigilant Dawn. Now back online, but running only on partial power. The ghost ship still, motionless above Sereth Prime, hung like a shadow across the stars. Every sensor sweep, every data probe, came back the same. No energy output, no life signs, no readable material composition. Yet the ship remained there, perfectly stable. Defying gravity and logic alike, Admiral Sirax Varian stood near the observation window, his reflection pale in the glass. His uniform collar was open, his eyes tired but alert. He had seen battle before, rebellions, invasions, supernova storms, but never silence like this. A single ship had paralyzed the most powerful empire in the galaxy without firing a single shot. Behind him, officers whispered among themselves. Fear was beginning to break discipline. Every crew member could feel it, an invisible weight pressing down on their minds. The ghost ship didn't move, didn't threaten, yet everyone aboard knew it was watching them. The comms officer, a young lieutenant named Marin, finally broke the silence. "Sir, Command requests another attempt at communication." Sirax turned. "They think it will answer this time?" Marin hesitated. "They hope so, sir." Sirax exhaled slowly and nodded. "Prepare a tight beam transmission. Standard greeting protocol include peace terms and identity request. No aggressive tone." The bridge lights dimmed slightly as the communication array came online. Across the vastness of space, a directed signal pulsed toward the silent vessel. Marin spoke clearly into the console. "Unidentified vessel. This is the Galactic Empire's flagship Vigilant Dawn. You are trespassing in restricted space. Identify yourself and state your intentions." We repeat, "Identify yourself." Static filled the speakers. Seconds stretched into minutes. The room waited, breaths held, then suddenly a sound, a low hum filled the air, followed by distorted whispers, like 1,000 voices speaking through static. The translation software flickered, struggling to catch meaning. The sound faded. Then a single voice cut through, calm, deep, unmistakably human. "Empire Command, you stand in violation of ancient accords. Prepare for judgment." The bridge fell silent. Marin's hands shook slightly over the console. Did that come from the ship?" "Yes," Sirax said quietly. "And it used human language, ancient Terran dialect." Before anyone could respond, every screen on the ship flickered. Lines of old code appeared, written in languages that hadn't existed for centuries. The Vigilant Dawn's AI tried to intercept, but its voice stuttered and broke. "Warning, external data link established. Unauthorized override detected." Sirax shouted, "Cut the transmission!" "I can't, sir," Marin cried. "It's controlling the network." The lights dimmed again. The ghost ship's massive form began to shift, its hull plate sliding and folding like living metal. A faint blue glow emerged from its center, and for the first time, the Revenant, as it would soon be known, moved. Slowly, silently, it turned until its front faced directly toward the Vigilant Dawn. "Shields up," Sirax barked. "Shields are unresponsive. Fire control offline." The ghost ship glided closer, crossing the distance between them in seconds. No thrusters, no visible engines, just movement through the void, as if space itself carried it forward. Everyone on the bridge felt it, not sound, not vibration, but a deep pressure in their minds. A feeling that something was inside their thoughts, observing, analyzing. Then the voice returned, not through the speakers this time, but directly inside their heads. Your empire was built upon our ashes. You erased our name. You forgot who gave you the stars. Several officers clutched their heads, crying out. One fell to his knees. The lights of the vigilant dawn flickered again as systems surged and failed. Syrax gritted his teeth. Enough, you've made your point. What do you want from us? The voice paused for a long moment, then answered, We want remembrance. We want truth, and then silence again. The lights stabilized, systems began to reboot one by one. The ghost ship stopped moving, returning to its lifeless state. Syrax stood frozen, heart pounding. Around him, officers whispered in terror. It spoke to us, inside our minds. What does it mean? Remembrance of what? Humans. Didn't they die out thousands of years ago? Syrax turned to his second-in-command, Commander Lyra Thane. Get me a direct line to the Emperor. Now, moments later, the holographic image of Emperor Kale appeared above the command platform. His expression was dark, his tone sharp. Report, Admiral. Syrax explained everything. The voice, the data override, the telepathic message. The Emperor listened in silence. When Syrax finished, Kale's jaw tightened. So it is human, he said at last. Or something that wants us to believe it is. Dr. Ellen Roz, standing beside the Emperor in the hologram, spoke softly. Majesty, the ship's technology surpasses everything we understand. If these are truly humans from the old Federation, then we may be dealing with a civilization that never stopped advancing, one that went silent by choice. Kale frowned. Silent by choice, or in hiding? He looked at Syrax. Admiral, what is your assessment? Syrax hesitated before answering. Sir, I believe this ship could destroy us if it wanted to. It hasn't attacked, it's communicating. I recommend restraint until we understand its purpose. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. Restraint is weakness. The people are panicking. The Council demands action. We will send the Titan fleet. Majesty, that would be suicide, Syrax warned. You can't fight what you don't understand. Kale's image flickered. Do your duty, Admiral. Prepare all defenses. If they make another move, we strike first. The transmission ended. Syrax stared at the fading hologram, jaw clenched. Around him, the crew waited for orders. Keep scanners locked, he said quietly. No one fires unless I say so. Hours passed. The ghost ship remained still. Outside, the light from Sereth Prime's sun glinted faintly off its dark hull. Then another signal came through, this time soft, almost gentle. A repeating tone, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. The AI translated the pattern. It's transmitting a sequence coordinates. Coordinates. Lyra asked. To where? Unknown, the AI replied. But it leads beyond Imperial space, deep into uncharted sectors. Syrax's eyes narrowed. They want us to follow. Lyra frowned. That's a trap, maybe Syrax said. Or maybe it's an invitation. The bridge fell silent again. Every eye turned to the Admiral. He looked out the window, watching the ghost ship. The silent guardian of something ancient and powerful. He whispered, more to himself than to anyone else. If these are humans, then maybe the stories were true. Maybe we're not their descendants. Maybe we're their mistakes. Outside, the Revenant pulsed once more. Its glow spread across the void like ripples in water, touching the vigilant dawn's hull before fading away. Then the voice returned one last time. Calm, distant, echoing through the bridge. The time for answers begins. Follow the light. The signal ended. The ship went dark again. Syrax stood in silence, the message echoing in his mind. He looked toward the stars, toward the unknown coordinates now marked on his screen, and for the first time in his life, the Admiral of the Galactic Empire felt something he had never known before. Hope the news of the ghost ship's sudden appearance. Its power and its ancient human markings spread across the Galactic Empire faster than any fleet could move. For centuries, the Empire had been the unchallenged master of the stars. Entire worlds had bowed to its rule. Entire species had been catalogued, taxed, or enslaved under its laws. Yet now, across 1,000 star systems, fear replaced obedience. Fear spread like wildfire, invisible but unstoppable. On the industrial planet of Varick 9, citizens paused mid-work at the factories that belched smoke into the thin atmosphere. Screens everywhere displayed the Empire's emergency broadcast. At first, the message was official, sterile. Okay. An unidentified vessel is in orbit above Sereth Prime. Imperial Command is monitoring the situation. Citizens are advised to remain calm. But the broadcast was immediately interrupted by a live feed from the vigilant dawn. The images showed the massive, dark hull of the Revenant, glowing faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. The accompanying message, transmitted in the ancient Terran dialect, left translators struggling, but the gist was clear. The ship was human, and it was awake. Across the city's panic grew. People screamed, ran, and gathered in crowds, looking up at the sky as if the stars themselves might fall. The Empire's propaganda networks tried to soothe them, but the appearance of the Revenant had shattered centuries of control. People whispered the old stories of humanity, the legends long forgotten in the Empire's textbooks. The first humans had disappeared across the stars, building civilizations that vanished without warning. And now, some of them had returned. On the distant world of Kryn, a planetary governor convened emergency meetings. He looked at his security officers and said in a low voice, "This isn't just another pirate raid. The Empire's fleets are powerless. That ship, whatever it is, has made it clear that no conventional force can stop it." The officers were pale. One of them finally asked, "Governor, should we evacuate?" He shook his head. "Evacuation won't help. This is not an attack. It's a warning. And warnings are meant to be heard." Meanwhile, on a remote mining colony in the Outer Rim, a young engineer named Terran Voss watched the sky with a telescope. He had grown up hearing stories of the Empire's glory and humanity's supposed extinction, tales told by teachers who had never traveled beyond their homeworlds. Yet when the dark shape appeared above Sereth Prime in the news feeds, he felt something stirring deep inside him. A mix of fear, awe, and recognition. Terran's grandfather had been a historian. Obsessed with the pre-Empire era, he would whisper at night about the first humans, about their ships and their codes, about the wars and treaties that had shaped the early galaxy. One day, he had said, they may return. And when they do, the stars will remember who truly owns them. Now, as Terran watched the ghostly images of the Revenant pulse across the feed, he understood those words. Humanity had returned, and the galaxy was unprepared. Back in the Empire's capital, the High Council convened in crisis. Emperor Kale Varine's throne room, usually a place of authority and ceremony, now felt small, crowded with tension. Every advisor, general, and scientist in attendance knew the Empire had been shaken to its core. "This is unprecedented," said Admiral Syrax, pacing in front of the council. "We have never encountered a force like this. It moves without engines. It controls technology beyond our understanding, and it communicates in ways that are almost telepathic." One counselor, pale and shaking, asked, "If it is human, what does it want? Surely humans have not existed for thousands of years." Dr. Ellen Raz, the Empire's chief scientist, replied quietly, "Perhaps they never stopped existing. Perhaps they evolved in secret, preserving their legacy while we built our empire. And now they have returned." Gasps filled the room. Murmurs followed. Some laughed nervously. Others could not hide the fear in their eyes. Kale remained silent, staring at the massive holographic projection of the Revenant. Finally, he spoke. "The Empire was built on conquest, on history rewritten by our hands. If this human fleet is real, then every world, every system we claim, could be in question. Do we strike, or do we bow?" The question was met with silence. None of them dared answer aloud. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, smaller systems reacted differently. Some worlds fortified their defenses, hoping to survive whatever was coming. Others surrendered preemptively, sending messages of loyalty to the Emperor. fearing that failure to comply would bring the wrath of the Revenant upon them. On the planet Thyros, a young pilot named Kelly Neve watched the newsfeed from her small spacecraft hangar. She had grown up serving the Empire, dreaming of glory and adventure among the stars. But now, seeing the Revenant's shadow above Sereth Prime, she felt a chill unlike any she had ever known. "They're real," she whispered to herself, "and they're coming back for us." Fear was not limited to civilians. Across the Empire's fleets, captains reported malfunctions, like sudden losses of communication and strange readings from the sectors near the Revenant. Every ship's AI struggled to interpret the ancient codes being emitted from the vessel. For the first time, even the most advanced warships could not rely on technology alone to ensure survival. In secret, some Imperial scientists began to speculate. Could these humans have mastered not only space travel, but also manipulation of reality itself? Could the legends of human superiority, whispered for centuries, be true? The thought alone sent shivers through their spines. Back at Sereth Prime, Emperor Kale called for an emergency broadcast. He appeared before millions of citizens through holofeeds, his voice calm but firm. "Citizens of the Empire," he said, "a vessel of unknown origin has entered our space. The Empire is investigating. All citizens are urged to remain calm. Your leaders are taking every measure to ensure your safety." But Kale knew his words were hollow. The Empire's citizens could see the fear in their eyes, could see the massive dark ship floating silently above their world. Rumors spread faster than official messages. Families clutched one another, whispering legends of the first humans, their ships, their power, and their judgment. As night fell across Sereth Prime, the Revenant remained motionless. Its dim pulse lit up the clouds and reflected in the oceans below. For many, it seemed alive, almost breathing, watching, waiting. Across the stars, countless eyes followed it in awe and in terror, and in the cold void beyond, the Revenant waited patiently. It was not yet time to act. Its purpose was clear: to remind the galaxy of what had been forgotten, to awaken fear, and to prepare for the reckoning. The Empire was powerful. It had thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, and countless worlds under its rule. Yet for the first time in history, it felt small, vulnerable, and exposed. Somewhere, deep within the Revenant's hull, a light flickered. A pulse, steady and sure, like a heartbeat. It echoed across space, reaching far beyond the orbit of Sereth Prime. Carrying a silent message to all corners of the Empire, humanity remembers. And humanity is returning. The fleets of the Galactic Empire had assembled with precision, a show of strength intended to intimidate the ghost ship and reassure the Empire's citizens. Hundreds of warships, from massive capital ships to agile fighters, surrounded Sereth Prime in formation, their weapons systems primed and their crews tense. For the first time in generations, the Empire mobilized not to conquer, but to survive. Admiral Sirac's variant stood on the bridge of the flagship Vigilant Dawn, observing the ghostly outline of the Revenant as it hovered above the capital. Its massive form seemed almost indifferent to the fleet surrounding it, a silent predator observing prey it could crush with ease. Every sensor sweep and data probe returned the same results. The ship emitted no energy signatures that could be targeted, no shields to penetrate, and no engines to calculate for a strike. Yet it remained there, waiting. Admiral Commander Lyra Thane said, her voice tight with apprehension. "The crews are restless. They're expecting an attack." Sirax didn't answer. He felt the weight of every soul aboard the fleet, every citizen on Sereth Prime, pressing down on him. "Hold position," he finally ordered. "Do not fire. Observe, report everything." Minutes stretched into hours. The ghost ship did nothing. Its hull shimmered faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat, almost as if it were alive. The Empire's fleets waited, tense, knowing that at any moment the balance of power could shift. Then it happened. A sudden pulse of blue energy shot out from the Revenant, invisible to the naked eye. Systems across the fleet began to fail simultaneously. Communications went silent. Weapon targeting arrays shut down. Shields collapsed without warning. Warships that had taken centuries to build now floated helplessly. Powerless against an enemy they could neither see nor understand, the bridge of the vigilant dawn went dark. Alarms blared. Crew members shouted over the cacophony of failing systems. While the admiral and his officers struggled to regain control, "What just happened?" Lyra yelled, trying to access the backup systems. Sirax gritted his teeth. They didn't fire a missile. They didn't use a weapon. They disabled everything. At that moment, a large Imperial cruiser on the edge of the formation blinked out of existence. 1 second, it floated among the other ships. The next, it had vanished entirely. No explosion, no debris, no warning. It simply ceased to be. The officers on the bridge stared at the empty space on their tactical displays, unable to comprehend what they had just witnessed. "It's erased," Marin whispered. "Gone." Sirax's hand tightened on the control rail. "Form a defensive perimeter. Keep moving. Track everything." Another pulse swept through the formation. One by one, 50 warships, the Empire's most advanced fleet in this sector, disappeared. Entire bridges vanished. Leaving no trace of destruction other than the cold emptiness of space, the Emperor's voice came through the comm system. Calm but commanding, "Admiral, do not engage. Observe and report. The Empire must survive to strike back at the right time." Sirax swallowed hard. "Your Majesty, with all due respect, we may not have that option." "Their power, do your duty." The Emperor interrupted. "Record everything. The galaxy must know what they are facing." The bridge was tense, every officer frozen in awe and terror. The Revenant remained motionless after each strike, as if testing the Empire's resolve. It did not move closer, did not retreat. But every pulse reminded the Imperial fleet of its fragility, its vulnerability. Lyra whispered, It's showing us what it can do. Not killing for sport, just demonstrating." Sirax nodded slowly. "Yes. A warning. Not an attack. But make no mistake, if it wanted to, it could destroy us all in minutes." The bridge crew watched in silence as more fleets attempted to reposition. Every time they moved, another ship vanished. Panic began to spread through the ranks. Officers shouted over failing systems. Pilots screamed into open comm channels, and yet Sirax held his command steady. "They're teaching us," he said quietly. "They're teaching the Empire what happens when you forget your origins." Then a message appeared on every operational console aboard the Vigilant Dawn. Faint, almost imperceptible, written in the ancient Terran script. "Do not mistake mercy for weakness." The words burned in the minds of everyone who saw them. A silent, unavoidable truth. The ship was not here to negotiate. It was here to judge, and it was already delivering the first lesson. Outside, the ghost ship pulsed again. This time, the blue light spread wider, surrounding several capital ships in a visible aura. Those ships blinked out one by one, leaving nothing but empty space where they had floated. The remaining vessels trembled in orbit, shields flickering, weapons offline, crew paralyzed with fear. Sirax turned to Lyra. "Prepare the fleet for retreat if necessary. Keep all ships within visual range, but do not engage. Any offensive action will provoke them." Lyra nodded, though her face was pale. "Understood, Admiral." The Vigilant Dawn moved cautiously, trying to maintain position without drawing further attention. The Revenant followed in subtle, almost imperceptible motion. It did not attack again immediately. It simply observed, pulsing gently, as if satisfied that the Empire had received its lesson. Hours passed. No further strikes came, but the Empire's fleets were crippled, their morale shattered. Across Sereth Prime and the surrounding systems, news of the unthinkable spread quickly. The citizens watched the ghostly shape in the sky and the disappearing fleets on their displays. Fear turned to panic, panic into desperation. Entire planetary defenses went into lockdown. The Emperor's advisors argued over the meaning of the attack. They could have wiped out the fleet entirely, one said. Why did they not? Dr. Ellen Raz replied quietly, because they wanted to send a message. They are showing us that brute force is useless. Only understanding. only knowledge might give us a chance. Sirax finally broke the silence aboard the Vigilant Dawn. They are human, he said slowly, almost to himself. They may be human, but they are something far beyond anything the Empire has ever faced. They are the ghosts of the past, awakened. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. Do we survive this? Sirax didn't answer immediately. He stared out at the dark silhouette of the Revenant, its pulsing light reflecting across the void. He knew the truth that no one else wanted to face. The Empire had been unprepared. Its fleets, its weapons, its fleets of millions of soldiers. None of it mattered against a force beyond comprehension. And yet, somewhere deep inside him, a spark of determination flickered. Humanity had returned, yes, and they were terrifying. But the Empire had survived worse, and survival required understanding, not panic. The Revenant pulsed one final time as night fell over Sereth Prime. Its light spread across the fleet, a silent warning, a heartbeat echoing through space. Then it disappeared into the darkness, leaving the Empire to lick its wounds and contemplate the impossible. A human civilization that had never died. Now awake and returning to judge the galaxy, Sirax stood alone on the bridge, watching the last pulse fade. He whispered to no one in particular, "If they are judging us, then we better be ready to answer." The fleets regrouped, their numbers diminished, but their resolve unbroken. The Empire was wounded, humiliated, and terrified, but it lived. And the Revenant had shown them that the galaxy itself could remember humanity's power beyond the stars. In the silent void, the ghost ship waited, patient, observant, judging, and when the time came, it would strike again. The Empire had seen the impossible, and now it had to survive the unthinkable. The silence in the Empire's capital was deafening. After the devastating pulse from the Revenant, the fleets that had survived drifted in orbit, their systems flickering, crews exhausted, and morale shattered. Across the planet of Sereth Prime, millions of citizens waited in anxious fear, their eyes fixed on the dark shape in the sky. And above them, in the cold void of space, the Revenant waited. Patient, deliberate, and silent. Inside the Vigilant Dawn, Admiral Sirax Varian paced the command deck. His uniform was disheveled, sleeves rolled up, eyes bloodshot from hours of constant observation. The crew moved silently, their attention fixed on the main viewing screen, waiting for any change in the ghost ship's behavior. "Admiral," Commander Lyra Thane whispered, her voice tense. It's moving again." Sirax turned sharply. The Revenant had shifted. Its hulking frame rotated, revealing a surface previously hidden from sensors. Panels opened along its hull like petals of a dark metallic flower. A soft blue light emanated from within, casting ghostly reflections across the fleet. "Prepare a communication relay," Sirax ordered. "Attempt contact. But be ready for it. Anything." Marin, the young comms officer, hesitated. "Sir, it's not responding to standard protocols. The last attempt nearly overloaded our systems." "I know," Sirax said grimly. "This time, we do it their way." The relay was activated. The system hummed as the Vigilant Dawn tried to match the ghost ship's ancient transmission frequency. Seconds stretched into minutes. Then, for the first time since the Revenant appeared, a voice spoke not through the speakers. Not through the comms system, but inside the minds of everyone aboard the flagship simultaneously. "Empire Command, you do not understand who we are. We are the first humans. We are your ancestors. And we have returned." A stunned silence fell over the bridge. Crew members froze in disbelief. Some whispered prayers. Others fell to their knees. "First humans?" Lyra repeated, her voice shaking. "You mean the legends?" "Yes," Sirax said, voice low. "They're real, and they're speaking to us." The voice continued calm, yet filled with authority. "Millennia ago, we spread across the galaxy, building civilizations and teaching what you now call science and law. But you, children of our creation, grew arrogant. You destroyed worlds, enslaved species, and erased our history. You forgot your origin. And so we waited. The meaning sank into the room like a hammer. Every officer, every soldier, felt the weight of history pressing on them. The Empire had believed itself supreme, untouchable, yet the first humans, the ancestors long thought extinct, had returned to judge them. Dr. Ellen Roz, watching the holographic display, whispered to the Emperor's envoy, "They preserved themselves, and their technology surpasses anything we have. Their understanding of physics, of space, of life itself. It's absolute," a message continued. "We have come not to destroy without cause, but to reclaim what was ours. The galaxy was ours before you twisted it with your ambition. And now we seek justice." Across the bridge, the crew felt a chill. The words were not a threat, they were a promise. A promise that the Empire would be held accountable for centuries of conquest and oppression. Syrax clenched his fists. "What do they mean by reclaim?" He asked no one in particular. The voice answered as if reading his thoughts. "Your fleets, your weapons, your empires, they are temporary. We will take nothing that cannot be rebuilt, but all that is stolen, all that is hidden, will be returned to its rightful place. The galaxy remembers, and so do we." Lyra swallowed hard. "Returned? They mean? Planets, systems?" "Yes," Syrax said quietly. "Everything the Empire has taken, everything the Empire has built on the ruins of their ancestors. It will be judged." Suddenly, the main viewing screen flickered. The Revenant projected images, holographic reconstructions of the early galaxy, before the rise of the Empire. Worlds teeming with life, humans walking among alien species in harmony. Cities floating in the void, powered by technology that made the Empire's fleets look primitive. And then, destruction ships burning, planets stripped bare, civilizations falling to Imperial conquest. Marin gasped. They're showing us history. The real history." Syrax nodded, feeling a weight he had never known. "They're not lying. This is proof." The voice spoke again, reverberating in every mind aboard the vigilant Dawn. "You have forgotten us, but we have not forgotten you. And now you must understand that your power is borrowed. You are children playing in the ruins of your ancestors. The time has come to remember, to learn, and to face the consequences of your actions." A hush fell over the bridge. Even the AI systems, normally unfeeling, seemed to pause, processing information beyond any known dataset. The Emperor's envoy, transmitting live to Sereth Prime, spoke quietly. "Your Majesty, they are speaking directly to every mind. Every ship, every officer, they feel it." Kael'Varen's holographic presence flickered. He did not respond immediately. When he did, his voice was measured, but there was an edge of fear. "Prepare a council meeting. Immediately. If this is true, if the first humans are awake, then everything we know about the galaxy is at risk." Dr. Roz turned to Syrax Admiral. "They're offering us knowledge, understanding, and they're warning us not to act rashly. If we provoke them, the consequences could be catastrophic." Syrax ran a hand over his face. "They already proved that in the last strike. Entire fleets erased. And yet they spoke. They communicated. They want us to understand, not die." The Revenant pulsed again, light spreading across its hull, illuminating the shattered fleets and the tiny capital below. Another message appeared. Etched in glowing Terran letters across the main screen, "The galaxy belongs to all who inhabit it, not those who conquer it. Remember who you are," Lyra whispered, almost in awe. "They're teaching us—" "Yes," Syrax replied. "Teaching the Empire its place in history, and judging us while they do it." The ghost ship's pulse slowed, and for the first time, it appeared to retreat slightly, as if giving the Empire room to consider the message. The fleet stabilized, their systems slowly coming back online, but the fear remained. This was no ordinary enemy. This was something ancient, powerful, and merciless in its judgment, but fair in its purpose. Marin spoke softly. "Do they expect obedience?" Syrax looked at her. "I think they expect recognition. Recognition that we are not the masters of the galaxy, Recognition that history is alive and that it watches us. That's the first lesson. For hours, the Revenant hovered silently, its pulsing light a reminder of what the Empire had forgotten. The voice spoke only once more before fading. The time for judgment has begun. Learn, remember, and prepare. We will return in full. Humanity always returns. And with that, the ship went dark, its massive silhouette blending into the void. Across the Empire, from Sereth Prime to the Outer Rim, citizens and commanders alike felt a chill run through their hearts. They had seen the impossible, heard the truth, and understood at last that the galaxy was no longer theirs to claim. Serac stood on the bridge, staring into the empty void where the Revenant had been. He whispered to no one in particular, "They are human, and we are not ready." But deep inside, a spark ignited, a spark of understanding, a spark of hope. The first humans had returned. They had spoken. And now, the Empire must choose its next move wisely, for the galaxy would never be the same. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath. After the revelations of the Revenant, after its devastating demonstration of power and the direct message of the first humans, every Imperial system, every fleet, every citizen waited for what would come next. Sereth Prime. The heart of the Galactic Empire had never been so quiet. The usual hum of commerce, the glow of orbital cities, even the chatter of the citizenry had all fallen under the shadow of fear and awe. On the surface, people gazed at the sky, searching the stars for the faintest hint of the dark ship that had appeared weeks earlier. But the Revenant had vanished. Its massive hull had retreated into the void, leaving nothing but an empty orbit and a pulse that seemed to linger in the minds of all who had witnessed it inside the Imperial High Command. The Emperor's throne room was a place of tension and whispered speculation. Admiral Serax Varian stood before the Emperor's hologram once more, surrounded by his closest officers. Every eye in the room was wide with disbelief and apprehension. "They're gone," Commander Lyra Thane said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "The Revenant. It left." "Yes," Serax agreed, his eyes on the dark void where the ship had once floated. "But their presence is still here. We can feel it. Their message, their power, it lingers in everything we touch." Dr. Ellen Roz, standing quietly to one side, nodded. It was not just a display of power. It was a demonstration of purpose. They have returned to the galaxy, yes, but this first ship was only the beginning. The first humans are not merely a legend. They are an awakening. The Emperor's voice cut through the silence. "An awakening? Explain." Roz turned, her expression grave. The Revenant was not acting alone. This ship is ancient, yes, but it is also connected. There are many others, scattered across the galaxy, hidden, dormant, waiting for the right moment. The Revenant was the first to emerge. Its purpose was to warn the Empire and to remind us that humanity, as it once existed, is returning. A murmur ran through the room. Generals exchanged uneasy glances. For centuries, the Empire had considered itself the supreme power, untouchable, eternal. Now, the thought of an ancient human civilization returning to claim the stars sent chills down their spines. Serax took a deep breath. They didn't destroy us, yet. They didn't attack. Despite having the power to annihilate the fleets around Sereth Prime, they left us a message and a choice. They want us to understand. They want us to remember. Lyra frowned. "And if we fail to remember, then they will act," Serax said quietly. "And we will not survive." Across the galaxy, communication networks were flooded with panic, speculation, and awe. Scientists, historians, and citizens alike debated the implications. Some called the first humans a myth come to life. Others warned that the Empire had provoked forces it could never hope to control. Entire planetary councils held emergency sessions, trying to determine how to respond. Some ordered evacuations, others fortified defenses, but every system shared one certainty: humanity had returned. and the Empire was no longer in command of the galaxy. In the Outer Rim, a small colony on the edge of mapped space reported strange sightings. Sensor readings indicated massive energy signatures moving beyond known space lanes. Ships vanished as fleets attempted to investigate, but no debris remained. Whispers among the crews spoke of ships, larger than any Imperial dreadnought. Ships that glimmered with the faint pulse of life, not machinery. Back on Sereth Prime, the citizens tried to resume their lives. But the memory of the Revenant lingered. Parents whispered to their children of the legends, while older generations, who had studied ancient texts, remembered the tales of the first humans. Children looked at the stars and wondered if the beings that had taught their ancestors how to navigate the cosmos were now watching them, judging them. In the vigilant dawn, Sirax convened his officers. "We have learned our first lesson," he said, voice steady but low. "The first humans are not here to destroy without cause. They are here to reclaim the galaxy that was once theirs. They want the Empire to understand its place in history, to remember who we truly are. Our next steps will define the future of every world under our control." Lyra leaned forward. "In the fleets we lost, the power they demonstrated. It was only a warning," Sirax replied. "We were shown what happens when arrogance meets history. We were spared, but the galaxy may not always be so merciful. We must prepare not to fight them, but to survive their judgment." As night fell over Sereth Prime, the sky cleared of the Revenant's shadow, but the feeling of its presence never fully left. A soft pulse, faint and steady, seemed to echo in the minds of those who had witnessed it. Across the galaxy, systems recorded strange readings, energy fluctuations, weak but undeniable. As if the Revenant's signal had traveled farther than anyone could detect, in the deep void beyond the mapped stars. Other ships stirred. They were massive, far larger than any Imperial vessel, their hulls shimmering faintly with the same pulsing light as the Revenant. One by one, they activated. They had been dormant for centuries, hidden in far reaches of uncharted space, waiting for the time when humanity would return. And now, with the Revenant's first contact complete, they began to move. The Emperor's advisors scrambled to understand the implications. "How many are there?" one asked, voice tight with fear. Dr. Raz shook her head. "We cannot know. But each of these ships is capable of power beyond comprehension. They are connected. They share knowledge, technology, and a singular purpose: to reclaim the galaxy and remind all who inhabit it that humanity remembers." Sirax stepped to the observation window. "They are patient," he said softly. "They are deliberate. They don't strike without cause. But when they do, it will not be mercy. They will act with purpose, precision, and inevitability." Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "And if they return in full?" Sirax did not answer immediately. He studied the stars where the Revenant had disappeared. "Then the galaxy will see what true humanity looks like. And the Empire will have to decide if it can survive judgment. For the citizens of Sereth Prime, and for every Imperial fleet across the stars, the lesson was clear. The galaxy was no longer theirs to command. Something ancient and powerful had returned, and the memory of humanity once buried in myth now pulsed across the void like a heartbeat. The Revenant had left, but its message lingered. Humanity had returned. The galaxy had been reminded. And in the deep darkness of space, countless human ships began to stir, their lights flickering like distant stars. Signaling the dawn of a new era, Admiral Sirax Varian stood alone on the vigilant dawn, staring into the void. His voice was barely audible. "They're coming back," he whispered, "and we are not ready." Above the planet, the stars shone brightly, yet a new presence shimmered between them. The pulse of the Revenant echoed faintly, a silent promise. Humanity remembers. And the return is only beginning. The galaxy had seen the impossible. The Empire had witnessed the awakening of legends. And somewhere, deep beyond the mapped stars, the first humans moved silently, patiently, inexorably, toward a galaxy that had long forgotten them. The time for reckoning had begun.